Another cool style that you can add to your design on your web page is you can actually create a what we call a box shadow. It's very similar to what we do to when we use the text hyphen shadow. The text hyphen shadow only applies a shadow or a drop shadow to text, while a box shadow applies it to a div or to a section. So that's the big difference. So when you apply a box shadow, it's not going to add a drop shadow to the text at all. So if I look at this example here I have on my page, you can see that there's a drop shadow added to the text. And that's done with the text hyphen shadow, which I talk about in another video. So where does the box shadow come in play? Okay, so let's take a look at the style here. Box shadow style is just simply box hyphen shadow, and you have 5 options to make changes to. So the first 2 values are controlling the offset, and in this regards what it's saying is I'm going to add a shadow 1 pixel to the right, 1 pixel down. Then I'm also going to go and change the blur distance to 1 pixel, and spread distance of the shadow I'm going to show you here in just a second. Right now I'm just leaving it 0. And then lastly we're going to go in and add the color on that. Now in one of my previous videos I showed you how to create a circle using the border radius. So let me open up that page real quick. So you see here we've got this circle here added, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code and I'm going to add it to that style within that div section itself. Okay, so it happens to be with the sub, what we call as hashtag sub 6. That's how it's set up for the circle. So if I go to my circle page, there's nothing hardly on here except for a div tag called ID sub. Okay, so I'm just going to add it to the existing style, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now I'm going to go back and refresh my page, and there's going to be a slight shadow down here to the bottom right. Now let me go ahead and hide what's in the background, so that way you don't see the grass, so you can actually see the shadow a little bit better. So go to my body tag, so you can see that there's a little bit of shadow right there. Now to experiment here, what I'm going to do is just going to show you here. I'm going to change this offset. I'm going to say 5 and 5. So now you can see the shadow more distinct, because what you're doing is you're moving it 5 pixels to the right and 5 pixels down. You don't have to always go down to the left and so forth, or down to the right. You can also use negative values. So watch what happens here when I choose -5 and -5. Now it's going to go up to the top left. So you can actually control, you can put it on the left side, you can put it on the right side, you can actually control that. Now I'm going to bring this back here, and I'm going to reload here. I have 5 pixels, and I want to watch what happens when I increase this up to 10 pixels. Notice the edge of the shadow gets a little bit more blurry. Okay, as I mentioned, that's controlling the optional blur distance. It's optional, you don't have to control that. If you want a hard edge, just offset it by 1 pixel and 1 pixel. So that third value is going to give you more of the shadow that you're probably looking for. So that's where you have to kind of experiment. You might go too much. So if I go up to 50 here, this is something you have to watch out for. You can see that the blur is going all the way around. So it's not creating the shadow that I wanted. So if you go too high, it might be too much, and something to pay attention to. And yes, you can go in and we go bring this back to 10. You can experiment with the color. So if I wanted to, let's do here FF00. See, now it's a lighter green. So you don't have to use black as a shadow. You can use it what your color scheme is. And so adding a little shadow is going to help make it stand out for that section. So again, you can add the box shadow. to any div section, any HTML section that you have, like a header, a footer if you wanted to. So if I really wanted to, I can actually add this up to my heading 1 or a header section. Okay, let me go ahead and save it. Let me show you what it's going to look like. So notice how it goes in and puts the shadow over here on the right hand side. Now again, this is probably not something you want to do for your layout in that regards, but I want to show you how it affects that area. So again, you can add it to any area that you want, but typically I like to add it to places like if I want a certain area to stand out, and we do this a lot in flyers. If you look on like a magazine cover, you're going to see a lot of times you'll have little stars or little circles, and there'll be information inside that to point them to something else, to a different page. So you can actually add something like that, and I would add a shadow around it to make it stand out on the page itself. And what I'm referring to, if you look like, for example, People magazine, a lot of magazines will put a circle in and put some information in that circle to make it stand out. And again, depending on where you go, here's another circle. So, and you actually will see a drop shadow added right here if we really look into it. It's hard to see through the video, but there is some drop shadows. And so this is a common theme that we see in print design. We can actually add into web design on that, so which is a great feature. So again, you're probably not going to add a box shadow that many times to like your main sections, but to certain things that you're going to add to draw attention to, yes. So like up here you have a picture of People magazine. There's a little picture frame, has a drop shadow around the whole picture. Well, that's the same component. You know, if I wanted to recreate this into a website, I actually could, because of these options I have, these additional style options.